let's have a look at our rolling fog. So with this, when I was working on the concept, of course I utilized some masking using my depth pass, and this is reflected in my fog having some of the silhouettes from the geometry. However, because the amount of parallax at this distance, if you remember, was absolutely tiny, was maybe 1 pixel here as well, I don't think we have to worry too much. Whereas the waterfalls, we are going to project from the camera onto cards to hopefully create a sense of depth and the illusion of depth by layering these cards, because they are not projected on any of the geometries we have in Clarice. But for this, we are actually going to project it onto the geometry because this is at quite a big distance and any distortion will be quite unnoticeable. So first, let's just borrow some of these nodes from earlier. And I just want to distort this fog a little bit. I don't want the effect to be overwhelming, because if you think about it, fog does not move very quickly at all. So this will hopefully be barely noticeable and will just be a subtle effect on top. And by adding together all of these different subtle techniques and little animations, we are creating an image that is full of life, even though a lot of it is unnoticeable. So here I like it. It moves just a tiny bit. Let's keep this. And for most of our animation there, let's just grab our reformat and we will again just do a grid warp. And here, again, I'm just going to display this technique on one of these because this is the same technique over and over for everything, and it is in how you use it that you can create some different effects. So actually let's draw it here maybe, because I don't want to distort this bottom area with the silhouette too much, because that will kind of make the edge fuzzy in the final comp. So let's just put it here and let's just distort this top bit. It's going to be very subtle anyway. So let's create a keyframe on the destination grid on frame 1, and for frame 50, whoops, I don't want this, I want roto, my bad. So in the roto, let's just, okay, let's turn this off. Let's just select this broad area, and let's feather the selection a little bit. And now in my grid warp, let's adjust it slightly. And let's have a look. Okay. So some slight movement. I would say that's still far too much. We probably want something a lot more like, oops, this, where it's less distorted. We want this to be a very subtle effect. Okay. And so let me bring in my finished version, just again to show. Let's just connect these and these. And here I've basically used these grid warps to animate all of these. The only problem that we are running into here is, just like with our foreground waterfalls, some of this fog is touching the bottom of the frame. So if our camera is moving in like this, we will at the start see an edge where this is cutting off. So we are going to cheat a little bit And we're going to create a roto node and just roughly select this. And we'll set the output to RGBA. And here in the shape, we'll select color 0 and invert that. And here, we will do the opposite. And so this we will write out as DMP rolling mist frame 50, just to show that it's been projected from frame 50. And version 1 ##.tiff and 16-bit. The other one, we will copy this, but change this to frame 1, and in fact we will project this one from frame 1, because we will still get the same effect, but it'll be in just a slightly different position. We can, however, transform it slightly, just to kind of have it be slightly more relevant in the image. And so that's our rolling fog done and animated, very easy and very quick. Next up, let's have a look at a different type of fog in case you use this as well. And I'm just going through all of these different sort of like approaches, which are very similar but just slightly different, just so I cover a wide variety of these techniques. So this is our haze that I created in Photoshop. And again, let me paste my script from earlier and let's go through it. So again, exact same technique, but I tried to use a noise that was a little bit similar in terms of the perspective, or at least the angle to my image. And then in fact, I used the corner pin 2D node in order to add more perspective to it. So the way this works is we take our layer and we create a corner pin node. And here we get pins on our corners of the image. And we can play around with the perspective. So like this, you can roughly match the perspective of your actual fog in the image. And I thought that if I'm going to use this noise for distortion, it would be good to actually have this perspective matched. It will make it slightly better, hopefully. So again, I distorted, and this is a large noise, and I distorted by a pretty large amount, except for a couple of bits where I felt like it might break the silhouettes of some of my geo. And then I just took and again wrote it out and called it DMP Haze Anim for animated frame 50 version 1 diff. And so that's it for our fog as well. We will combine these layers with also some fog that we just create through Z-depth in Clarice, and we will just combine that pass with these to create again an atmospheric look that we had in our concept. Alright, so let's move on to the next part of our tutorial. I hope that you can use these techniques for any clouds or mist or fog in your image. It's a very simple technique, but very powerful if you just spend a little bit of time with it.